Hello, constellation. Welcome to Starchaeology Tarot, home to tarot readings for anyone ready to dig deep and break inner ground. I'm Desi, your Starchaeologist, aka tarot reader, and guess what? I love you. If you're here for the first time, welcome. This is not a coincidence. If you're returning, shout out to the Starchaeology constellation. I'm so grateful you're part of the cluster. This is your astrological reading for September. I'm going to be going through all 12 signs, so use the timestamps below to jump to your sun sign, moon sign, rising, Venus. I highly encourage you to look at all of these placements because this will give you a more complete picture of the unique puzzle that you are. And it could be that something is more resonant this month in, say, your rising sign than your sun sign, or in the realm of love, check out your Venus rather than your sun sign. So in advance, thank you for embarking on this Zodiac adventure with me. And before we begin, I do want to ask that you give the abundance that you wish to receive. If you're hoping to receive blessings, start by giving a blessing. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel and turn on those notifications right now so that you never miss an opportunity to feel supported, encouraged, empowered by Starchaeology Tarot. Now let's begin. Hello, my little cluster of Aries. This is your reading for September. Calling in Aries guides and angels. Okay, Aries, this flew right out. Knight of Wands. Knight of Swords. King of Discs. Okay, Aries, we have a lot of Knight energy here, which is very Aries energy. You're no stranger to being a knight, to being the first, to leading away, to embarking on an adventure. This being Knight of Wands, that feels even extra Aries. This is where you are right now. You're in a position where you have a spark that has ignited for you recently, and it is giving way to action, swift action. You feel very confident towards achieving a certain goal in your life, and you're full steam ahead at this point. You're really unbothered by details like emotional limits, people's feelings, material needs, or even if it makes logical sense. Wands is the suit of fire, and it is aligned simply with that feeling of purpose and mission. It's saying yes to the spark, even though you can't control how the fire takes shape. There is a feeling here like no one can stop you, and that's a great thing on your way towards achieving a goal, Aries. The obstacle, Knight of Swords, it's another knight card. It's like, really, this is like a duel. It's a duel either between two parts of yourself, or perhaps this is someone else in your life who's taking the form of the Knight of Swords. While the Knight of Swords is swords, the suit of air, thought, it's incredible how little the Knight of Swords actually thinks ahead. The Knight of Swords is sharp-minded and bold, the same way that the Knight of Wands is bold, but this is more intellectually bold. This is someone who enjoys a stimulating argument, enjoys an intellectually stimulating argument, someone who just wants to debate for the sake of debate and perfecting the art of persuasion. What I see here is that there is someone who is concerned more with winning than being right, maybe, than doing the right thing. And that is at odds with this part of you that is completely called to action by purpose alone, by inspiration, by this gut instinct, by this gut knowing. And the Knight of Wands doesn't have the time to intellectually debate the Knight of Swords. The Knight of Wands has no interest in winning an argument through discussion. But the Knight of Swords really wants to just poke holes in this Knight of Wands mission. You know, the Knight of Swords wants to be contrary for the sake of being contrary, just to be argumentative. Knight of Wands may feel threatened by Knight of Swords without seeing that the Knight of Swords doesn't have anything behind words. Sometimes the Knight of Swords doesn't even have belief behind those words. Sometimes the Knight of Swords is again, just driven by the joy of winning an argument, not because they actually are philosophically aligned with the side that they are defending. I'm also seeing a difference between the Knight of Wands and the Knight of Swords, because they're both Wands and Swords are both action oriented. These are masculine suits. The difference is the Knight of Swords jumps into action because of swift judgment that is made in their minds. Their brain is swiftly judging the situation, swiftly making assumptions, often false assumptions, sometimes right, and racing into this duel based on those judgments alone and on the belief that they can win, that they're right. There's a righteousness to the Knight of Swords. The Knight of Wands is also jumping right into action, but it comes from a much deeper place. It's not coming from the mind. It's not coming from the ego's desire to be correct or to win. It's just coming from a deep sense of knowing. And the Knight of Wands can't help but take action. The Knight of Wands doesn't need more information. And the Knight of Wands may not even be judging the situation, or may not even be making assumptions that are misleading about other people. Rather, it's more about the Knight of Wands' deepest sense of duty. It's about their relationship with themselves, knowing that they can't stand by and watch something happen, or they'll regret not doing something at this moment for their own well-being, for their own spiritual evolution and journey. The Knight of Wands doesn't really have interest in being right. The Knight of Wands has interest in honoring that spark of inspiration, that spark of creativity, and seeing where it takes them. It's more about honoring the purity of the impulse, the purity of the gut response, without making assumptions about what that means in the bigger picture, but really just seeing, okay, if I say yes to that small nudge, where will it take me? And when it takes me there, then maybe I'll be able to judge something based on the full picture of where I am at that point. I'm not pretending to put together the whole puzzle now. I just know that this piece is important, so I'm going to pursue that one piece. I feel strongly about that one piece. So these are very different kinds of action that the Knight of Wands and Knight of Swords are taking. King of Discs. Now, King of Discs upright, King of Pentacles, is methodical, smart, like really good at planning, worldly planning and preparations, managing abundance, managing resources, managing wealth. The king is materially very successful, a business leader maybe. Also a provider. A provider in the most physical sense of the word, not necessarily an emotional provider or a spiritual provider, but a provider like you can trust that there will be a roof over your head, food on the table, and a solid ground beneath your feet. The king has gotten to this success not by taking risks. Like, the king is extremely grounded, not a big risk taker, and it has paid off a great deal. However, when the king is in reverse, we see that to an extreme. We see someone who is so steadfast to being grounded that they're stubborn in it. They're stubborn and resistant maybe to risk taking. They need to remain well within their comfort zone, their hole that they've dug in the ground with all their things, their small world, in order to feel like they can achieve great things. And as soon as that environment is shifted, as soon as these resources, these tangible resources are moved, or they're in a situation where those resources are not available to them, they don't feel like they're able to achieve what they need to achieve. It's achievement and success, but in very limited circumstances, a very specific recipe. And this is in the advice position, so this tells me that maybe there's a stubbornness in how you are going about something here. The fight between these two knights, the duel between these two knights, maybe there is a stubbornness to remain within your comfort zone, to rely only on the things that you know rather than trying anything new. That's a very hard mentality to harmonize with night energy, which is about adventure, which is inherently about going outside of your comfort zone. So if you're finding yourself struggling on this path of adventure, of duty, of exploration, maybe it's because the Knight of Wands is taking you in one direction and Knight of Swords is taking you in the other. The key could be looking at this King of Discs component of you, because of course the Knight is only going on an adventure to earn this kind of success, to earn this kind of achievement, this kind of security, stability, wealth, abundance. Like, that is the purpose. The Knight serves the King. The Knight in you serves the King in you. But if you believe certain things about what it means for you to be king and how you're going to do it, then of course that's going to affect the way that you're a knight, the way that you embark on adventure, the way that you seek. It's hard to be a seeker and not a risk taker. I hope that gave you some insights, Aries. As always, I am rooting for you. If you haven't liked or subscribed, please do so. Become a patron for $3 a month to support my work. And I will see you next time. Hello, my little Taurus cluster. Welcome to your September tarot reading. This is good for Taurus, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. Whoa. That's too many cards. Sorry, we'll see if they come out again. This is good for Taurus, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. Calling in Taurus's guides and angels. What are the messages for Taurus for September? Oh my god. They did. Are you kidding me, you guys? They came out again. Okay, wow. At least these two, I recognize them. Taurus, this has got to be an important message for you. The fact that these three all came out. Wow. Tarot shocks me to my core. So first we have the Devil. This is in your current situation. And the Devil energy, especially in this deck, is so beautiful, especially, I have to say, upright. The Devil represents the outsider. Every story needs someone who stands alone, who questions things, who literally is the devil's advocate, who disagrees, who voices concerns nobody else is voicing. The Devil is often painted as a devil when really they're just someone who sees things very differently, who finds themselves on the outskirts of what is considered conventional, normal, acceptable, popular. So I'm seeing you in a position this month where maybe you identify with the Devil here. This also could mean that people are blaming you for things that are not your problem. just because you have a questioning mind, just because you are considering the will of yourself versus societal will. It isn't selfish to do that when you sense that something within you is different from what seems to be in society at large or in all the people around you. In fact, sometimes that leads you to the truth when the majority may actually be misleading you if you were to blindly follow them. Another way of looking at this is that there's a part of you that is doubting something, or that is trying to critically think about something, really test the strength of something. And the truth is, everything should be able to withstand testing and analysis. And if certain structures or dogma or situations, relationships are not able to withstand simply prodding, questioning, critical thinking, then they can't possibly be worth your commitment. They can't possibly be worth your devotion. So it's always good to play the devil's advocate at times, even if it's to confirm that you actually do want to join someone on the other side there. You do want to join that group. You do want to subscribe to that philosophy. You do want to live out that belief system. Now, there's going to be a few different interpretations for these two, so listen up and listen through. For those of you for whom that was resonant, that interpretation of the devil, I'm seeing a certain relationship in your life threaten your questioning mind. Or in another way of saying it is you want to ask questions, but there's a relationship that you're invested in, a partnership maybe, that makes you feel like there isn't a place to ask those questions. There isn't a place to apply this kind of analysis and observation and questioning. And there is something about this partnership that may be very important to you, and really it could be a wonderful relationship that for whatever reason it's at odds with you being the outsider. It's at odds with you ever making yourself out to be the bad guy. I mean, it really could be as simple as that. Like, you're afraid to be, you feel called to be the bad guy in a way. What other people might label you as the bad guy. Maybe it's what your partner might label you as the bad guy, simply by pointing something out or simply by asking an honest question. And this partnership feels at odds with that. This person feels at odds with that. It might feel like you are trying to protect the relationship by blunting your own curiosity. And the truth is, if that is what you're feeling right now, that's all the more reason to support your curiosity. Because if that honestly would threaten this relationship, then this relationship is not worth committing to. Or something needs to change in order for you to commit to it. Now, if that was not resonant, another interpretation that I see here for some of you is that you are in a beautiful relationship right now, or you're on the cusp of a beautiful relationship, whether this is romantic, it's a friendship, it's just a deep relationship. It's a blessed relationship. And there's something about a true blessed relationship is not one in which the two parties are completely aligned in every way. They're perfect mirror images of each other. Rather, it's a relationship that allows you to embrace the differences between you and someone else in a way that doesn't threaten the health of the relationship. It shifts your mindset in how you see others and yourself, how you approach relationship in general. It allows you to accept and embrace differences, hold space for dualities, the duality between you two. You could be opposites, and still understand that that there's unity in that there's harmony sometimes in opposites. There's harmony in differences. Could be a difference of opinion, a difference in lifestyle, a different belief, a different background. This is understanding true intimacy. Again, it's not working towards some sort of mirror image perfection, but it's instead about recognizing the beauty in what you might have once called imperfections. And it's the journey, it's the experience of exploring those differences. Having someone who's different from you to exist against. Because that's where growth happens. That's where the real work happens. The real work of why you're here. And that could be threatening to the part of you that wants to be the outsider, the part of you that wants to separate yourself, that wants to ostracize yourself from this relationship, that wants to be the bad guy. It's almost like you're seeing yourself as the antagonist in this relationship. It's like a protag and the antag, and you're like, oh, I can't be the antagonist here because this relationship's challenging me in a way that finds harmony, that creates harmony in the differences, not separates me in the differences. The devil's advocate separates itself in light of difference. How do you find unity in the presence of difference? In a clashing of wills. These two things feel at odds. Some of you, one more interpretation here. For some of you, your shadow self is present. Your shadow self is saying hi this month and making itself known. It's speaking to you. And you may be in full acceptance of your shadow self. This isn't in reverse, this is upright. So this is, I'm not seeing a resistance to accepting your shadow self. Really, the only resistance I'm seeing is the relationship, is a certain relationship in your life, a certain partnership, friendship, what have you, that feels at odds with your shadow self. Maybe that relationship is not accepting your shadow self. That relationship, that person doesn't know how to engage with your shadow self. And for some of you, I'm hearing there's fear, because there's fear around this pressure, like I have to be perfect. I can only show my partner my light, because either I'm afraid my partner won't accept my shadow, or my partner doesn't have the tools or the maturity to engage with my shadow in this way. And all relationships, friendships, romantic relationships, you name it, family relationships, are about intimacy, period, involves engaging with other people's shadows. So these two things could be what are at odds. Now, what is the advice? Advice is the Five of Swords. The Five of Swords is somewhat of a warning against wasting time on fighting, just making your voice known, shouting over each other, at the expense of actually finding constructive solutions. So everyone is saying their piece. And by doing that, especially all at the same time, it's like everyone's talking over each other and everyone's also being wounded at the same time. It's like I'm saying what I want to say, but also I'm hurting myself in the process. Instead of creating an environment that isn't about making sure that everyone gets to tell everyone off a certain way, It's not about winning this fight, winning this argument, making sure everyone knows my opinion about this. Sometimes it's important to speak your voice. Other times, when it's not constructive and when it's not really about someone else, because you can't change someone else. If it's really about you and your reactions and how you engage with the world around you and the people around you, it's better to keep that to yourself. This is about examining what fights, what debates, what opinions, what words don't actually need to be spoken. What can you sacrifice in the name of real constructive solutions? Solutions that actually might heal this situation. Not just say your piece for the sake of saying your piece. And that raises a bigger question of whether or not you even want to solve this problem. Or is this more about, let me rephrase that, is protecting your ego the priority here? This breeds distrust, this kind of approach to life. Whereas when we have a more communal outlook, when we are able to honor the self, but not at the expense of others, not causing harm to others. I mean, of course, sometimes honoring ourselves means bringing up a hard truth that may hurt someone else, but it's never malicious. There's not malice in that. If anything, there's love in that because it's rooted in honesty. When we focus on constructive solutions, we build trust because we're honoring each other as well as ourselves. We're actually looking at what our best interest is, not what our ego's best interest is. And that's where the advice lies for this situation. I hope that gives you some direction, Taurus. If you haven't liked or subscribed, please do so. Please turn on those notifications. If you'd like to support this work, check out my Patreon. You can do so for just $3 a month. Support my work. And please, let me see in the comments section if this shook some things up for you, if you had some discoveries in this reading. If you feel called to, please share. I love to hear from you. As always, Taurus, I'm rooting for you. I love you very much, and I will see you next time. Hello, my beautiful cluster of Geminis. Welcome to your September tarot reading. This is good for Gemini, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. I'm going to call in your guides and your angels. What are the messages for Gemini for September? Seven of Wands, Gemini. Knight of Cups. Two of Discs in reverse. Okay, Gemini, so starting with the Seven of Wands, you're in a place right now that might be a particularly tedious stage as you're working your way to some sort of goal, something that you really want, something that you are drawn to. Maybe it's aligned with purpose and mission for you, and you may be going through a tough time on that path. Enough that makes you, it might shake you or make you doubt things. The Seven of Wands, especially, sevens in general and Wands especially, this suit, reminds us that the 10 is very close. It's within reach. And it would be more work to turn around and start over than to keep going, to keep pushing through. I see you being very close to that goal. And it's important, more important now more than ever, when you've walked the majority of this path. You've actually, you're more than halfway towards this goal, which means you're tired, which means you have faced adversity, you have faced setbacks. So you're not in the same mindset that you were when you began. And that means it's easier than ever to not be able to see clearly your way forward, not be able to really acknowledge, oh, I'm actually very close, or I've made a lot of progress, just because you've been broken down in a way by the journey itself, and that alters your perception. If you're seeing yourself and going like, I can't believe I'm not further along, I thought I'd be further than this point, question your perception first. Question the things that voice in you is telling you, because those may be rooted much more in feeling than in fact, and feelings are not facts. I also see you, if this is not resonant so far, it could be that you're in a state right now where you need to advocate for yourself. You're advocating for yourself in some way, or you're advocating for someone else. The Seven of Wands is the advocate card. So I see you really doing something out of this like gut instinct that it's the right thing to do, to speak up for yourself in this way, or to speak up for someone else in this way, to defend someone, to fight back, because that's what's right. And it's there's a real nobility in that. I also see some of you having learned some valuable lesson recently, or attained a new skill that, or maybe you're in the process of that is going to make you a lot bolder. It's going to boost your confidence. It's going to give you strength that is rooted in this self-confidence, this belief in yourself and your abilities. And so that's another element of like, even if you're at a more particularly tedious stage right now, don't discount the fact that the journey itself has made you stronger than you were at the beginning of it. The journey actually has prepared you. It has been training for you to walk these last few miles, which may be the hardest part of the journey, even if it's shorter, even if it's, you're 100 feet away, actually. It may be the most difficult 100 feet. But getting this far, getting to this point, has been preparation for this point. And now you're at this place where you're here because you've earned it, because you can keep walking through. Knight of Cups, I'm seeing what is at odds with this, something that may be causing conflict, is this inability, or I'm going to say again, a perceived inability to link your greatest fantasies to reality. It's hard for you maybe to see any bridge, any way of possibly making real the things that you imagine, because you have this very rich, imaginative inner world right now, whether that's made up of your dreams, your goals, your desires, your perceptions of the current story that you're living. Like, how are you framing things? It feels, Knight of Cups is someone who has such a rich inner journey that sometimes they end up being more passive in the outer world because they're busy slaying inner dragons. And it might look like they're not doing much on the outside, and maybe they might even struggle with translating that to action, to the outside world, translating all the leaps and bounds they're making internally into realized action in the real world externally. This also could symbolize someone else in your life who is opposing you in your journey in this way. Someone who is really caught up in flights of fancy, really caught up in fantasy, and they're unable to execute anything into action. And here you are in a place of action, in a place where you're incredibly fueled and motivated and driven. And this person may be a stumbling block. This person may be an obstacle in your way forward, is dealing with them in some way. Now the advice is the Two of Discs, Two of Pentacles, which always twos make us think of duality in tarot. This one in particular shines light on natural dualities of life, whether it's yin and yang, light and dark, the waxing, waning of the moon. These are very basic earthly, this represents basic earthly needs that are often dictated by, again, duality in life, and how sometimes, we need winter, then we need summer. What I'm seeing it by being in reverse, I see this acceptance of duality, a resistance to this acceptance of duality, as being the thing that maybe needs to be examined in order for you to move forward on this journey, move forward on this path, and face this Knight of Cups, whether that's a Knight of Cups within you or someone else. I also see growth being stunted in some way with this Two of Pentacles. And the growth being stunted may have something to do with accepting, again, duality of life, or feeling like you need to choose light for dark or dark for light, when in fact it's actually about embracing the two together. And that's where the start of this journey lies, not eliminating one for the sake of the other. I also can see this meaning that some of your basic earthly needs are not being met, so you're not in the right conditions for growth right now. And if you're finding the place on your journey, again, particularly tedious, or this Knight of Cups is posing a much bigger challenge than they should be posing, it could be that you need to look to basic needs that aren't being met right now. Because if you had those basic needs being met that are within your control, then you'd be able to tackle these. You'd have the energy to tackle these. But it's almost like the reason that the Seven of Wands and Knight of Cups is challenging right now is because there's some sort of blockage, resistance in basic needs being met. And so that's stunting your growth in this area, or on this journey. I'd love to hear how this looks specifically for you in your life, Gemini, so please comment below if you feel called to. If you haven't liked or subscribed, smash those buttons right now. Turn notifications on. Thank you so much for being a part of the cluster. I love you very much. I am rooting for you this September as always, and I'll see you next time. Hi Cancer, welcome to your September reading. This is good for Cancer, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. Calling in your guides and angels, Cancer. Nine of Discs, Cancer, the Moon, and Three of Cups. Wow. So Cancer, I'm seeing for September that you are experiencing success and achievement, fulfillment that you have worked long and hard for. Some of you have achieved this at great personal sacrifice, others of you with some sacrifice, some compromise, but sacrifice and compromise have been a crucial part of reaching this destination, this end point. And it's been that sacrifice and compromise that has now made the value of what you are experiencing, the abundance you're experiencing, all the more rich, all the richer. Nine of Discs is success, but it's not just any kind of success. It's success that comes from really owning our decisions along the road, even through the obstacles, even through the adversity, and recognizing that the rough spots in that road were a crucial part to reaching the destination, and that they were as defining, if not more, than the success and achievement you experience at the end. They're a crucial part of that success and achievement. So this is really encouraging, whatever it is that you've been working hard for. It's wonderful to see you on the other side of that now, and to see your compromises and sacrifices and the things that were really hard decisions that you had to make, but you made them anyway. You moved through them with a sense of inner certainty, despite the pain, despite the adversity that you were facing, and now experiencing the blessings, reaping the blessings, has made those choices worth it, has made those losses along the way worth it. Some of you, though, are experiencing a lot of doubt, and I see you looking back at these decisions despite the success that you're experiencing right now, and questioning a lot. Some of you are having a hard time enjoying the abundance that you're experiencing, enjoying the success you're experiencing, because you may be getting lost in certain doubts and fears about that story, about the story of this journey. Maybe you're getting caught up in the details, in the things that you sacrificed, the choices that you made, and so you're having trouble seeing those choices as a crucial part of your journey. Like, I'm hearing some of you are here at the destination, and you're still saying, but why did I have to do this? Couldn't I have still reached this and kept that thing that I compromised, kept that thing that I sacrificed? And really what is at play here is you wrestling with illusion, the fears that come from your inner doubter, not any other voice. The moon represents strength that is found through connection to the subconscious. In other words, to connection to the dark night of the soul that we experience. I think many of you, that dark night of the soul was part of this journey, and you're still connecting to the dark night of the soul as if it's your enemy, or maybe I should say you're disconnected from that dark night of the soul as if it's your enemy, even if you're past it. Some of you, you're not really past it because you're still facing it. The attachment to the experience of it in the past is keeping it very much in your present moment, and so it feels really impossible to move past it, to accept it and let go and experience the joy of the present moment, because you're still seeing it as this enemy of yours, this dark night of the soul that maybe it was traumatic in some way. But the moon, we're afraid of the moon. We're afraid of facing our subconscious often, because it feels dark, it feels murky. It's like, I can't see in this realm. The subconscious lives behind the veil of our conscious understanding, and so it's easy to fear the things that we don't know, even if we are facing them, even if those things are coming into our knowing. Sometimes we're like, I'd rather just not know at all. But what a beautiful obstacle, Cancer, to have in this position, because it isn't really a true obstacle, and seeing it as such is an illusion in itself. You don't really have a true obstacle here. You're experiencing abundance that's come at great cost to you, and it's also helping you face and truly know your true self. And you're afraid of facing and knowing your true self. You're afraid of facing and knowing, swimming in the waters of your own subconscious, even though it's yours. It feels foreign to you. It feels scary. But that's not a real obstacle here. It's only your expectation, your beliefs projected onto this that paint it as an enemy. It's really not an enemy. It isn't an obstacle. It isn't the adversity that you faced on the way here. It isn't the obstacles that you did face on this journey, the things that you had to sacrifice for or compromise. This is something different. This is just you. And some of you are demonizing a part of yourself that you still feel separate from, that you still are like, that is my shadow, that's not part of me, that's the mysterious part of me, that's the terrain within myself that I don't dare to traverse or explore. And that really is your next frontier, Cancer. I'm seeing some of you are having a death of the superego and the false selves that we build to contain or hide our true feelings from us. For whatever reason, this is totally linked to you experiencing this success, this achievement. It's almost like the experience of this success, achievement, or attainment of something is revealing to you your true feelings about it, the true nature of your life. And the journey, keeping this, away from yourself, being in pursuit of this, allowed the superego to contain the true feelings, because you were always kind of trying to get at something, and that was a distraction from the things that were the true feelings around it. But now that you're here, there's nothing, your subconscious can't hide around anything anymore. There is no goal left to achieve. You're there, you're present, you're meeting it, you're facing it. And maybe you didn't expect it to be revealing yourself, revealing you to yourself in this way. But I'm hearing for some of you, it's stripping you bare. And of course that feels like an obstacle, that feels like an enemy, but it isn't a true enemy. It's you leveling up. It's a beautiful thing, Cancer. 3 of Cups is in the advice position. And that is just a beautiful reminder to rely on the friendships and true, genuine connections that we have during this time. When we face a dark night of the soul, when we are facing our truest selves and becoming really honest with ourselves at the deepest, most subconscious level, subconscious secrets coming to light about ourselves, to ourselves, we often, it feels very singular. It's easy to feel lonely in this, because it feels like a crazy thing that's happening all inside us, and it's alienating in a way. We think no one else could be going through this, no one else could be having these feelings, no one else could be this crazy, But the advice actually is to reach out. It is to connect to a support system. It is to feel supported and safe in connection to others. I think even that might displace some of the pressure that you feel, that you're putting on yourself simply by going through what you're going through. You allow other people that you love to carry some of that burden for you. And that's a gift to them. We often think we're burdening other people with our feelings. But truly, that is always a gift. Sharing ourselves with others is always a gift to others, because it makes those people in our lives feel valued. It makes them feel close to us. It's the building blocks of intimacy, and intimacy is always a gift. So I hope this gives you some direction, Cancer, for September. I think this is there's such beautiful potential for you this month, to really learn about yourself in a very deep way, to have your eyes opened to desires you may have, or true feelings you may have, or beliefs that you've really internalized that maybe you don't want to believe in. Whatever this moon represents for you, things in the subconscious coming to conscious light. And that, while you may have thought this was the destination, it was really this. And this is opening the door now to your next adventure, your next journey. and it's one that you shouldn't ever have to do alone, and maybe you can't do alone. This is about union. This is a time of connecting with others. Love you very much, Cancer. I'm rooting for you as always, and I'll see you next time. Hi, Leo. Welcome to your September reading. This is good for Leo, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. What are the messages for Leo? Calling in your guides and angels, Leo. We got Temperance in reverse, the Ten of Swords in reverse, and the Ten of Cups in advice. Wow. So, Leo, we have Temperance in reverse in where you currently are in September. And this shows that the balance between the two parts of yourself, the light and dark part of yourself, in the simplest terms, maybe that balance is off. Either you are acting out of one extreme of yourself, either let's say, for example, your dark self is ruling your actions and expressing itself through a lot of different ways in your life, or your lighter self is dominating your actions and expressing itself through the opposite of whatever that dark self is, like excess versus restriction, for example. Giving more to others and not receiving enough. Any kind of duality that comes to mind for you where there may be a balance that is off. And it's somehow linked to resisting a specific ending in your life, making a decision about something once and for all, and really embracing that decision. This Ten of Swords is your obstacle. It's some sort of decision that maybe has been a long time coming. That's an ending to, more than anything, a certain way of thinking, a belief system. Maybe it's outgrowing a certain belief you had about yourself or your life, or something that you're intellectually or philosophically hanging on to, when really it's time for this to die because there's something being reborn in its place. I see for many of you, Leo, that you're growing into something new, and you can't allow that growth to happen if you're really restricting or denying, rather, and resisting this ending. It's like your actions in your life aren't congruent with a belief that you still seem to carry. They're not congruent. Your actions and lifestyle and choices and physical being is not congruent with some inner belief that you have about yourself, or inner thoughts that you still seem to repeat or carry. Oftentimes we give more credit to our thoughts than we should be, because we, as a culture, we really prioritize the thinking mind over any other center of knowing. So it's easy to not question our thoughts, to just kind of have these thoughts and immediately assume that those thoughts are us and those thoughts are the truth, when in fact we need to be tending to those thoughts as one would tend to a garden, encouraging the ones that we want to grow, and pruning the ones that we don't want in the garden, that aren't aligned with our vision for the garden. So this being in reverse and it's in this obstacle position, I just see you resisting making a choice about a belief system that you have, making a choice about a way of thinking. I'm seeing this as there being a need this month for you to think about yourself in a very different way, in a way that allows balance in your life rather than choosing one extreme at the demise of the other. Choosing the light self at the demise of the dark, or choosing the dark self while compromising the light. And fill in those blanks for whatever comes up to you, light or dark, whatever comes up for you, light or dark selves. Like, again, that's representative of any duality that is coming to mind for you. Seeing yourself as either this or that, and not really allowing those parts of yourself to balance. There's something about that living in an extreme, or believing an extreme about yourself or your life or your path, that is very much linked to resisting the ending of a way of thinking about yourself. A natural ending of sorts. I see, Leo, for you, it's almost like resisting a growth spurt, because of this Ten of Swords is so full. It's an ending and a beginning in one card, and you see that the swords are all pointed at this egg. It's like destroying the egg, but also in the act of destroying the egg, something is being born. So this is very much linked, I think, to giving birth to a new form of yourself that allows for a kind of balance between the different parts of who you are, integrating the dual parts of yourselves, the seeming opposite parts of yourself, and understanding that the longer you pit these against each other, or think it's either this, or I have to be this and I can't be this, the more you think that, the more you just dig yourself into a hole, the more you trap yourself, rather than questioning those beliefs and questioning the structures maybe that around your life that are making you believe you have to be categorized in such ways. Maybe it's about your career, maybe it's about love. I think those are prime examples of having certain beliefs about what love might do to you that are false, or having certain beliefs about what this certain career path would do to you that are false. Thinking you have to sacrifice certain parts of yourself when actually you don't need to. These different paths can hold all of you. In fact, they might be able to better support all of you, help you live a more authentic life, help you be more freely yourself. And I see this because this beautiful Ten of Cups is in this advice position, Leo, which tells me that you have this kind of domestic bliss in your life right now, like a real safe home, a happy home life, this emotionally supportive community or family or friend group that gives you the ability to really be your true self in this safe space, and surrounded by these familiar things or people. And that is a kind of dream come true for so many people. That is true peace, getting to relish in this place, literal or metaphorical, of unconditional love for yourself. When we really feel safe in unconditional love, like this is a really safe space where even where I'm free to make mistakes, that's when real magic happens in our lives. That's when we're really able to grow ourselves and also help others grow, because when we don't have this, we're often incredibly self-focused, because it's a state of survival to be constantly working for love and acceptance, not feeling this kind of safe home base. And even if we are really focused on others, and even if we really want to help others, it's kind of like, you know, you need to put on your own oxygen mask before you put on someone else's, and it's living in that state chronically. Seeing this Ten of Cups in the advice position tells me to rely on that safe home space. Really take advantage of this bubble that you have, this unique place to integrate both light and dark sides of yourself, to be questioning belief systems and not alone, even like bouncing them off of other people, engaging with other people, engaging with this safe home system that you have to help you integrate all the parts of yourself and adopt the new belief systems that you actually want to have. As always, Leo, I'm rooting for you. I hope this September is beautiful. Thank you for liking and subscribing and supporting this channel in any way that you can, and I'll see you next time. Hi Virgo, welcome to your September tarot reading. This is good for Virgo, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. I'm going to call in your guides and angels. What are the messages for Virgo? Wow, 2 cards just flew out. Is that 2? Yeah. 2 of Swords and Justice in reverse. Let's give us one more card, Spirit. Wow, fell right out. Temperance. Upright. Okay. Okay, wow. This is a complex reading, Virgo, already right off the bat. So 2 of Swords. You are in a place, maybe a crossroads, where you have to make a decision right now. This is a real crossroads moment, a moment where you have a decision to make, and it's important that you make that decision. It's more important that you make a decision than not any decision at all, because non-action is also making the decision. And what's clear is that kind of default decision by default rather than design. In other words, you know, letting something happen versus consciously making something happen is not the answer here. And you might want to default to that because it might feel like you don't have all the information. You might have a lot of anxiety about not knowing everything, feeling like you don't know everything, and so it feels like how could you possibly make this decision? But this only appears when to remind us that we actually are completely capable of making decisions and trusting our judgment, even when we don't have all of the facts. Because what even is a fact? I mean, there are so many facts that we don't have. Always, in every decision we make, we don't have all the facts. We have a percentage of facts, but it's impossible to know everything at any given time, because it's impossible to know the future and at any given time. So this is a reminder that you can make a very good choice for yourself. You're more than capable of making a decision here, and that it's important that you trust your judgment, because staying in the realm of analysis paralysis is more detrimental to you and your path than taking action. Any action is better than no action. What I'm seeing, what's making this really hard, is that with Justice is in reverse here. So there's either, for some of you, and listen up, there's different interpretations for different members of the constellation here, but Justice in reverse could mean that there is a lack of honesty with yourself or others in this decision right now. And so it's that lack of honesty, whether it's on your part, whether you're not being honest with yourself or other people, or maybe you feel other people aren't being honest with you. That could be the thing that's holding up this decision making. But you can't, if it's other people not being honest, you can't force them to be honest. All you can do is take people at their word, or decide that you don't trust them, and then make a decision based on that. That is information, and that might be all the information you get. So take what it is that you have and use that to move through this. Don't try not to see that as something that paralyzes you further or should paralyze you further. There's also, justice is can represent systems of justice. And when we see this in reverse too, for others of you, I see this as like a desire to kind of hack this decision, like find an easier way to do this, to somehow cheat the system, or find like a deal. Find a deal in some way that makes it so you don't have to do this the hard, long way. But it's like there's got to be an easier way to do this, to just a life hack around this. And that could be the kind of dishonesty with yourself that I'm talking about, or even dishonesty with others. But it's important to remember that sometimes looking for an easier way, we say that because we don't want to suffer. Of course, that comes from this really honest place, but that road is not honest. That road is a road of dishonesty, which means injustice. And that could put us in more trouble. That could be more trouble than good. That could do more harm than good to ourselves and to other people. So this isn't a time to cut corners. This is a time to do the best you can with what you do have, and rely on your other systems of knowing. If your brain doesn't have all of the facts, rely on those other systems of knowing to help you in this decision. What your heart knows, what your gut instinct tells you. That's what's important here. Also, for others of you, this justice in reverse means another thing. So if nothing was resonant about this so far, please listen to this. This could be a kind of unfairness with yourself in this decision. I see some of you as really being harsh in your self-criticism, in the standards that you are holding for yourself. The standards are not balanced. It's not fair. It's actually unfair to you, or it's unfair to others in this decision. It's almost like your perspective is one of unfairness. It's not one of diplomacy, whether it's to yourself or other people. And that lack of diplomacy, that lack of generosity in your judgment of yourself or others, is creating this inequality that is making it very hard to make this decision. The information that you don't have is the information that actually this needs to be more of a level playing field. You need to approach yourself with the kindness that you approach others. You need to see others with the same standard that you set for yourself. Whichever way it goes, this is about being honest in your perspective and in your judgment, whether it's self-criticism or harsh self-criticism or harsh criticism of other people. And you need to give yourself a chance here, or you need to give someone else a chance here. You need to allow. You can't find yourself guilty or someone else guilty without a fair trial. And that could be the kind of cutting corners towards making a decision, or it also could be the reason why it's so hard to make a decision, because you're trying to do so without having that fair trial, without having that generous perspective of yourself or someone else. The advice is temperance, which is really, I think, supports this justice in reverse. Your brain might be trying to make this very black and white. I mean, we even see that in the Two of Swords, this black and white imagery, this all or nothing imagery in making a decision. And contrary to what you might think or assume immediately, the advice is to actually integrate opposites, to integrate the dark and light of a situation, the shadow and the light of something, the black and white of something, one thing and its opposite, to integrate those things in your understanding of something. And that actually being the thing that creates the balance you need to make this decision, to make the best decision that you can. It's actually assuming one extreme while compromising the other, that which you think is going to simplify things, that's the thing that's actually making this decision harder. That's the thing that's actually putting you in analysis paralysis, is seeing something so black and white. You might think that integrating the dark and light of something, integrating duality, somehow might complicate this decision. But actually, I see it infusing balance into your perspective that allows you to make a more balanced and appropriate decision. It's not, maybe on the base level or superficial level, it might look like, yeah, it's complicating the situation. But nuance is truth. Complexity is truth. So when you're trying to make something black and white, you're denying the truth of something because you're denying the nuance. And the nuance is always where the truth lies. The truth is not black and white. It never is. So of course you're having trouble making a decision because you may be acting from this place of black and white thinking, which isn't truth, which is dishonesty. This message is very clear, Virgo. Very clear. One more message from Temperance when we talk about duality. It's integrating, another way of thinking about it is integrating the light and dark self, but also integrating joy and suffering, integrating giving and receiving, integrating your inner wisdom and the outer wisdom from other people. Whatever feels out of balance for you right now needs to be balanced in order for you to make this decision from a place of honesty and truth. I hope this was clarifying and grounding, Virgo. As always, I am rooting for you this September. Thank you so much for supporting this work, liking, subscribing, turning those notifications on, being a patron if you are a patron. I love you very much, and I'll see you next time. Hi Libra, welcome to your September reading. This is good for Libra, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. I'm going to call in your guides and your angels. We're looking for any messages. Wow, Temperance is a huge theme this month. Okay, Princess of Wands and Temperance. Cannot believe how many signs Temperance is coming out for. If any of you are astrologers or more advanced in astrology than I am, I would love to hear what's happening this month in the way of balancing duality, because I think it seems to be something that a lot of people are going through based on their charts. Okay, what are the messages for Libra for September? We need one more card, Spirit. There we go. 10 of Wands in reverse. Great. So Libra, what we're seeing is the Princess of Wands front and center here. Well, not center, but central to your month, Princess of Wands. This is also known as the Page of Wands in other decks. This really signifies your lust for life, the desire that you have, using your desire as a compass to build new foundations in your life, to embark on new adventures that could be the start of very important structures in your life. Ones that are actually rooted in desire as opposed to obligation or projected desires of other people. This is creation of foundations for adventure that really come from you, that come from your spirit, that come from your fire. And this card is an invitation to embark on that journey. It's an invitation to really bring humility to the beginning of a journey. I think sometimes we are afraid of starting something new, especially when it means honoring something that we want, because if we have spent a long time denying ourselves our desires, then that's a learning experience. And the older we get, the harder it is to have learning experiences, the harder it is to humbly become a student again. And this is not just any student, though. This is a student to your own fire. This is allowing your desire to teach you something, allowing your passion to teach you something. No direction has been defined yet with this Princess of Wands. This is simply about acknowledging the fire that does burn within you, the passion that you do have, and making a choice to fan that fire as opposed to putting it out, maybe again. This is also great because it suggests sometimes being the beginning of a journey. It suggests that maybe there are barriers that you had previously to this princess, you know, in the Ace to 10 arc of the Wands suit that kept you. There were barriers there that kept you from pursuing something, kept you from starting something. The princess coming up in the Wand suit is like, it's a restart halfway. It's Ace energy that's coming halfway through the journey. And that might suggest that barriers that once prevented you from taking this step have actually been burned away. And I do say burned away. Being a Wands card suggests that they maybe have been burned away by some power outside of yourself, like your outer conditions. It's just worked itself out like an act of God, an act of nature, that have opened a pathway for you. So that's really exciting. Learning about your desire, being in a position where you're getting curious, where you're observing, where you're learning about the passion that you have, and not just learning the passion itself, if it does happen to be a hobby, if it happens to be an actual thing that you can learn, but also just learning about your desire, learning about why you're passionate about this, what you want to do with it, how you engage with it if you haven't engaged with it before. Temperance is in this obstacle position to this. It feels hard to do this because you want to maintain balance. This is very, this lust for life energy feels very extreme. You know, it feels like taking a leap in some way that feels crazy to us. And maybe that's what following your desire means to you, is craziness. It's absolutely absurd, which what I want to say, Libra, is not necessarily the truth. Is that a belief that you have internalized that is coming from some outer influence, outside influence? It doesn't have to be crazy to follow a passion. You don't need some kind of grand excuse to follow a passion. And it also doesn't have to be something that throws off the balance of your life. In fact, it can be something that actually balances you, especially if you've been living in a place of incredible self-restraint or self-denial. If you've been burying desires that you have, that's not balance. That's extreme in the other direction. So you may see temperance, balance, as an obstacle to you. You may see this integration of your desires into this, this life that you've built of self-denial, of not pursuing your desires, but really prioritizing other people's desires over yourself. You may see this path, this Princess of Wands path, as a threat to the balance that you have created, the balance that you believe you have set. Or vice versa. You may see this balance as being the threat to your lust for life. But what I want to say with this is that that's an illusion. That is definitely an illusion. Temperance, another way to think about temperance, is integration of the different parts of yourself that feel opposing. Integration of your own desires and honoring the desires of others. Integration of your shadow with your light. Integration of receiving as well as giving. That is not an obstacle. That might feel very hard for you to do, Libra, because maybe you have no practice doing that. But it is not an obstacle. It's an adventure. This is an adventure in itself. And I see temperance as being the adversity that you need to face here, not because it's threatening to you, but because it's encouraging you, because it's stretching you, because it's challenging you. Sometimes we need to, if we've been living in one extreme, we need to swing to the other extreme in order to then find balance. Otherwise, we just live in this place of this held restriction on one side, and we think it's balance, but it's not. It's not balance at all. I'm just seeing here a big theme for you, Libra, is this misunderstanding of what balance means. Balance is the integration of opposites, holding space for things that seem to be black and white, not having to choose between black or white. And I don't see this as being a true obstacle to you honoring a passion, honoring your lust for life. These things, this Princess of Wands can be a part of temperance. Even if there's another part of you that is the exact opposite of Princess of Wands, you can hold space for both of those parts for you without canceling one for the sake of the other. What's the advice? How do you do that? Great question. I'm glad we did this spread and we have an answer here. 10 of Wands in reverse. The biggest thing that you can do right now is focus on reversing this feeling of being distracted, unfocused, or overworked. You have been pulled in way too many directions, and that's no surprise that that has weakened your will. It's weakened your spiritual purpose, your sense of purpose and mission and desire. Those things are all the same thing. Those are synonyms. We often think about desire as being bad in some way, and like spiritual mission is good, but it's like actually those things go hand in hand. And when you are pulled in so many different directions, it's hard to discern what is your direction. Which of those directions is the one that is yours? That comes from the fire in your gut, burning in your gut. Which of those directions is your will? The will becomes diluted, unfocused, when it doesn't know where to direct itself, when it's being pulled in so many different directions. The irony here is that rest and recentering are what's needed, and it's hard to do that when you also have this burning sense of desire at the same time. Maybe that's what temperance is teaching us here, is allowing yourself rest and rejuvenation while also recognizing that that desire within you will keep burning, and it doesn't, choosing rest and rejuvenation doesn't put out the fire in you. It doesn't put out the desire. In fact, you can still be nourishing this desire. You can still be protecting it and cradling it even at the times when you are resting, when you are allowing yourself to rest and rejuvenate. In fact, I think that will only make this will stronger to you. It'll only refocus your sense of purpose and direction and desire. This being in reverse, it just tells me you're resisting all of that. You're resisting the end of the spiritual trial that comes with recentering your focus and direction, with saying no to so many of those directions, which needs to be done. There needs to be a saying of no to certain things, of narrowing your focus. And being in reverse tells me that this energy is extremely unbalanced right now. You might be interpreting that, your obligation to all of these things that you've agreed to that aren't coming from your own sense of purpose and mission. You may see maintaining those different directions as balance. That could be the redefining of balance that needs to happen, because that isn't balance. That's an extreme in itself. And it's only when you're able to say no to certain obligations that you have and narrow that focus of desire and will and purpose, that the end of a spiritual trial happens. If you have found yourself really struggling, then you know that you've been in a spiritual trial, especially around purpose, mission, and desire. And the longer you stay committed to so many things, the longer you remain overworked and overstretched, the longer you put off the ending of this spiritual trial. Really powerful message, Libra. I'd love to hear how this looks for you specifically in your life. Definitely watch your other placements if you have the time. I'm rooting for you as always this September. I love you very much, and I'll see you next time. Hi Scorpio, welcome to your September reading. This is good for Scorpio, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. I'm going to call in your guides and your angels. What are the messages for Scorpio for September? Messages for Scorpio. Okay, Scorpio, so you find yourself in September really ruled by the Emperor, the archetypal father. This means that you may be working very well right now, or also maybe not well. I don't even want to comment on how you are working, but you're working within what you consider the laws of the land to find success. You're working within systems or hierarchical structures to find not only stability but success. And this doesn't necessarily mean work like your job. It could mean in getting a home for yourself. It could mean in creating or continuing some sort of family structure, relationships, whatever realm it's in, you are very much going, or you're very preoccupied with the laws of those things. the well accepted structures, societal structures around succeeding in all these different areas of your life. And you may even be defining success by society's definition of success, by the emperor's definition of success. Have you checked these boxes? Have you followed these rules? Great, then you're successful if you get XYZ. That's very much Emperor energy. It also could be that you just feel very stable right now. You are succeeding, and I put that in quotes, however you might define that, within the limits of a certain system. You may be really just preoccupied with that system, unable to see outside of it. So I think that what's just important to remember is, even if you are succeeding within a system, or it looks like everything on the outside is like working out for you, it's important to remember that that system didn't come from you. It came from other people, and sometimes we make great sacrifices to try to check those boxes that aren't even really important to us to begin with. We really can confuse our desires, what we want, as someone else's, or really confuse someone else's as our own. We also could overlook certain things that may not be that great, may not be really satisfying us, because of the boxes it checks on the outside. It doesn't matter if it's checking those inner boxes. If it checks those boxes on the outside, we're more focused with others seeing us as succeeding within a structure than actually succeeding by our own definitions. And again, this is any structure. This could be your career, it could be your domestic life, it could be your partner, it could be your family, whatever it is, whatever's coming up for you. And I want to say too, whatever maybe you immediately go, it's definitely not that, or it's, I don't want to think about it in that way, or everything's fine there. If there's a part of you that has a knee-jerk reaction to that, like, that's definitely further reason to explore the Emperor's role in that. What we resist often is the signal that something there might not be quite in alignment with truth or with our highest selves. Princess of Cups is here. So as you're trying to work within this system, as you're trying to succeed within some system, you're trying to follow the rules, you're trying to check the boxes. The Princess of Cups is here as the adversity. It's in this obstacle position. And the Princess of Cups, another way of thinking about this is Earth of Water energy. Princess's Page in other decks. So this is the grounding of feelings in the material plane through action. How do we ground our most loving feelings, our most creative, loving, compassionate feelings through actual action? The fact that this is in reverse tells me that you may be having difficulty right now grounding your feelings in the material plane, meaning that your feelings may be very disconnected from the action in your life right now. Or let's put it this way, your true feelings may be very disconnected from the physical action, the physical structures in your life right now, and the way that you, the actions that you take, the way that you behave. They're not actual true outlets for your love, for your creativity, for your compassion. Traditionally also, the Page of Cups very much is about fostering appreciation and support of the arts. Like, this is, Cups energy very much is arts energy. So whatever part of you is an artist, there's no grounding of that part of you right now. There's no grounding of your creativity, however that takes shape. And it's that struggle that is threatening to you coloring within the lines, so to speak. It's that struggle that is threatening to you succeeding within the society's definition of success. But also to your appearance, to how you come across to other people, and maybe the preoccupation that you have with appearing to other people like your life is a success story. Like you have the job, you have the partner, you have the family, you have the accolades, you have the title, all of these things. This lack of grounding of your true feelings, or creativity, however you want to put it, that is threatening to your place in society. How you fit in to this puzzle, how you fit within this structure. That's really hard, Scorpio. I also see there's like Princess of Cups. Pages often can symbolize elements of children, like of a child that are still within us, and Page of Cups specifically, because this is the realm of feelings, of water. This could be also disconnection from your own childlike innocence, from truly unselfish love, from rooting your true feelings in what you do and what you can do in the physical world. A child has a much better way of rooting their feelings in the physical world. They act on what they feel, they say what they feel much more easily than adults do. And this is in reverse for you. So I just see there's a resistance to that, or a struggle with that, or some kind of projection with another person, whether you're more focused on someone else's love, someone else's cup being filled than your own. Or even you're more concerned with someone else as a way of experiencing your world, or how you take action, rather than experiencing the world, taking action from your own feelings, from rooting your own feelings first. Another way of thinking about the Princess of Cups is that she's this like paradigm of, no, she's an example of working towards an ideal world. People who are idealists, it comes from the heart. It's because it hurts them on an emotional level to see suffering in the world, to see inequality, to see pain. And the Princess of Cups is someone who is able to use those feelings to propel them into action towards actually manifesting, creating that ideal world. Being in reverse, this tells me there's a blockage between the feelings that you have for an ideal world, or even your ideal world, and the action that you can take towards that. And it's in direct opposition to working within some sort of structure, or following the rules, societal rules about your job, about marriage, about, whatever that is, building a family. Strength in reverse is the advice, which tells me that a big part of this is taking a very deep look at yourself and prioritizing the look at yourself versus, let's say it this way, prioritizing your image of yourself to yourself rather than your image of yourself to the world. This is really about your outer image, the Emperor. And it's the focus for you. Both of these are in reverse, and they're very much inner focused cards. Strength in reverse, where we see this upright, this is like personal power, personal strength, self-confidence, the ability to own our desires, the ability to embrace all that we are and really know ourselves. even our monsters, even our inner monsters, and not feel like we have to fight, like we're fighting parts of ourselves, we're fighting our shadow selves, but instead we're befriending them, we're taming them, we're dealing with all parts of ourselves, the parts that we like and the parts that we dislike, with gentleness. And that gentleness is our strength. It's not brute force. It's a gentle, loving touch. Being in reverse tells me that there is a real suppression of your true self right now. A feeling of being powerless, of not having self-confidence, or putting all your power or your confidence in someone else, in someone else's view of you, rather than in your own view of yourself. This is your sense of self-worth or inner strength being out of balance. So the biggest thing that you can work on to fix this situation, or to rebalance this situation, to acknowledge, to really ground your feelings in real life, even if it's at the expense of following rules, is to acknowledge parts of yourself that you may be suppressing. Acknowledge parts of yourself. Face parts of yourself that may feel harder to you right now than just doing things to appease your own insecurities, taking action that just appeases your own insecurities. This in reverse, and plus the Emperor, I just see a lot of action that's rooted in insecurity as opposed to rooted in security. And what is needed is a complete just throwing that to the wind, like just a complete rejection of action that is only there to appease your insecurities. Because that might feel like strength superficially. It's not strength. It's a shallow construct of strength. It's enough to fool others. It's enough to fool society into believing that you're strong. But it's not real strength. Real strength comes from facing your own insecurities yourself, becoming curious about them, accepting, having a kind of gentle, loving acceptance towards them, and not really working to fit them within a certain structure on the outside, not really working to hide them so that you look a certain way on the outside or fit into a certain structure on the outside. But instead listening to them and seeing what they teach you, so that maybe you can be living more authentically and rooting your authentic feelings in your physical world, in your action that you take. This is a doozy, Scorpio, and I really would love to hear how this looks specifically for you in your life. So please feel free to comment below and share. As always, I'm rooting for you. You are stronger than you know, truly. And you don't need to live within these limits. You don't need to live within this system. The more you engage with this, the more you are preoccupied with that image, with the rule following, with the checking of these boxes, the more you deny yourself an authentic life. The more you deny yourself being your true self. I love you very much, Scorpio, and I'll see you next time. Hi, Sagittarius. Welcome to your September reading. This is good for Sag, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. I call in your guides and your angels. What are the messages for Sagittarius for September? Whoa, this guy just got somehow reversed, so. 4 of Wands. Yay! Love to see that. What are the messages for Sagittarius? Two of Wands, 9 of Cups. I guess I'm going to take that as a clarifying card. Knight of Discs. Sagittarius, so this is what I'm seeing. 4 of Wands is your current situation, which we love to see. This is the honeymoon card in tarot. It's blessings. enjoying the fruits of your labor, arrival at a new place. That's a place of union, whether it's union with someone else or union with a path that's important to you, union with a passion of yours. Maybe it's union with a dream that you've had, something that you've always wanted. And there's the creation of stability and security with this dream. So it's not a situation where you achieve something and you're like, what, that didn't bring me the kind of fulfillment I wanted. Maybe your expectations around this were really accurate. You know, you didn't expect it to solve all your problems, but you did expect it maybe to just give you a sense of stability and security, and that's exactly what it is doing. This also is great because you see this achievement as a foundation. It's a new beginning. It's something to build upon. It's like you can now build bigger dreams on a secure foundation that you have. And it's also about building like spiritually fulfilling projects, things that really benefit you and those around you. They're aligned with your greater sense of purpose and mission. It's not satisfying the ego, which is also maybe why this is proving to be rewarding. You know, it's not something that's like, it's not an achievement that's less sweet than you imagined it would be. And maybe that's because it came from a place that was really spiritually pure. You really did this to help people, help other people be the best version of yourself. This isn't satisfying the ego. And so that's what it has done. It's created this sense of real stability and security. Now, interesting seeing the Two of Wands in the obstacle position, because this is such a positive card. Two of Wands, this is a spark that's just been ignited and a plan of action that's starting to formulate. It's creating a portal for you, and you have one foot in that portal, one foot out of that portal. It's the invitation to step through the new doorway as you plan for this happy future. And that the first step is actually doing that planning. It's actually visualizing the thing that you want to visualize, the thing that makes your heart sing. It also requires a kind of spirit of boldness and courage, you know, new growth, especially that's aligned with our truest, most authentic desires, takes bravery. It's almost less brave sometimes to walk someone else's path than it is to walk our own path. And for whatever reason, that feels like a challenge for you right now. Maybe it's because you've created this sense of security and stability and you don't want to rock that boat. You know, you don't want to do anything that could compromise this. And now the dreams that this has opened for you, this has opened these new doorways, these new possibilities to new dreams. And the spark that's been ignited to you, it scares you. There's an element of it that might scare you. What you want might scare you. And it's because you are listening to your truest desires. And that takes a much greater amount of boldness, of courage, to really embark on that path, but also to let yourself dream about it, because that's what Two of Wands really is. It's the dreaming, it's the visualizing, it's the manifesting. And I don't know why letting yourself dream feels like a challenge for you right now. And I think the answer really lies here in this advice position. You know, Nine of Cups in reverse. I think that there's been a lack of prioritizing your own emotional needs. And so when you don't prioritize your emotional needs, it's really hard to experience personal fulfillment, even if your achievements are so impressive, because those achievements didn't come from your own emotions. They didn't come from your heart. Maybe though that those paths towards achievement were projected upon you by someone else, by society, by simply the voice that says should a lot in your brain. And So of course it's upsetting when we achieve those things and we realize, oh, this didn't bring me the personal fulfillment I thought it was. And it could be because it wasn't, that journey wasn't yours to begin with. It didn't actually come from the most authentic part of you. The advice here is to really prioritize your emotional fulfillment. Stop resisting it so that you can actually achieve true personal fulfillment and contentment, so that you can actually reap in the blessings of just having this, your default be a good emotional well-being, a healthy emotional well-being. When that's your baseline, blessings can rain upon you. And it's hard to have that as a baseline if you don't prioritize your emotional health. If you don't, which also requires you getting curious about your emotional health, getting curious about your feelings, getting curious about what your emotions are telling you. When we pair this with the Knight of Discs, which is really about accepting responsibility for your own health and happiness, I see that there's been a lack of accepting accountability and responsibility for your own health and happiness, true emotional personal fulfillment. Maybe you have put that on other people. You've put that on other people in your life or other things in your life, thinking like that's the thing that is going to make me feel fulfilled. Knight of Discs is the most pragmatic, steadfast knight in all of tarot. He slays his dragons. He or she reaches her destinations through patience and hard work and steady progression. There's no shortcuts with the Knight of Discs. And this is like saying there's no shortcuts to true personal fulfillment and emotional well-being. There isn't a snap of your fingers that can bring that to you. And changing your expectations around this can actually allow you then to really be honest with yourself about this, about what this is to you, what this means to you. And then that opens the door to prioritizing it, which of course influences what you are visualizing, what you are choosing to manifest, what spark is igniting in you, and how you fan that flame into something more as opposed to immediately putting it out. You're in a situation right now where this sense of security and stability really supports you doing this. So don't waste this time in your life. Don't waste this honeymoon period. It can only work to your advantage. I hope that is clear, Sagittarius. This is really beautiful and really exciting, and as always, I'm rooting for you. Please like and subscribe, turn on notifications to this channel, and leave me a comment below. I really want to hear from you. As always, I'm rooting for you. I love you very much, and I'll see you next time. Hi, Capricorn. Welcome to your September reading. This is good for Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising. Oh my God, it already fell out. And Venus. Two of Wands. Okay. Nine of Swords, Capricorn. Okay, give us one more. Two came out, Capricorn. So this is the Hanged Man and Nine of Wands. Okay, Capricorn, so I think this is going to be a really encouraging message for you. Two of Wands we have in your present moment. This is what you are. This is where you are in September. Your spark there's been a spark that's been ignited for you. A desire, a new sense of purpose, something that has come into your periphery and is now becoming, or has the option to become, your center focus. I'm seeing that some of you are, you're starting to daydream, almost in spite of yourself. Like, it's not something that you're very consciously planning, but you can't help passion seeping into your life. You can't help these feelings of certain desires coming in to your consciousness. And what that desire is doing is creating different portals of opportunities for you. Sometimes when we have a little flame ignite, when a little spark ignites, it's our instinct to immediately put it out. We are in a society where we are conditioned to deny ourselves, to deny our desires, and even often see our desires as bad or somehow harmful to people around us, when in fact the whole idea of Dharma is honoring our desires and acknowledging, honoring those desires and acting on those desires as a way to best serve others. We really serve the world by saying yes to our passion, because it's only with our passion that we bring the best, most authentic version of ourselves forward and outside of ourselves. So this is where you are. I see many of you visualizing some new path for yourself, an opportunity opening up for you, and it's very much aligned with desire. It's aligned with a reimagining of your world that is much more aligned with your truest self and your true purpose and mission. But of course, what comes along with this, because with great love comes great fear, is just so much anxiety about what it means, what this means to honor this desire. Sometimes we stamp out that desire because it complicates things, because it's threatening to the current structures in our lives, or it's threatening to what we believe to be our peace. Like, we don't want to rock the boat by saying what we want. We don't want to rock the boat by going after a dream, when in fact we actually could potentially bring a greater sense of peace to ourselves and those around us by saying yes to that dream, because we become a more complete version of ourselves. But this thinking, this doubting I'm seeing, is the real obstacle to you honoring the doorways opening for you. And it's important to keep in mind that Nine of Swords it's not helpful thinking, it's not helpful analyzing. It's thinking to the point of your own detriment, and really falling down worry spirals, really putting too much or giving too much power to our own thoughts and to our doubts and our fears. So you can think all you want, Capricorn, but it's not. Don't be fooled into thinking that it's your desire that is your enemy here. It's the thinking about it that is your enemy. It's the excessive judgment around your desire that's your enemy, or that's your obstacle. I don't even like to use the word enemy. It's your obstacle. It's your challenge to overcome here. Analysis helps to a certain degree, but this is over-analysis, and it's surrounded by anxiety, and also and that makes it really easy to become trapped in negative thought patterns. You see these swords all floating around this person who's trying to make the best choice for themselves. It comes from a very honest, genuine place, but it gets to a point where there's so many floating swords that you can't move. You can't move for fear of being stabbed, for fear of being wounded. It's important to remember that you can't solve this. You can't figure out your next steps. You can't figure out how to manifest this path of desire, this path of purpose and mission, through obsessive thinking. And in fact, the advice is actually to pause. the advice is to recognize that the outer limits of your understanding have been reached at this point, likely because there's this Knight of Wands here. I mean, you have demonstrated great courage, and you've been through so many hardships that you've overcome, and it's easy to think like, oh, I've overcome these hardships, I've reached success, even though it wasn't always easy, and my faith has paid off with this new sense of purpose that I have, this new desire that I have. So now it's going to be easy from here. I have this all figured out. But hardship doesn't necessarily end, Capricorn. It only becomes easier because of who you are, what you bring to the table when you face that hardship. And you're facing this now, which is really a gift. I mean, there's no challenge here outside of yourself. So this is easy to overcome. And you have been brought to this place, to the precipice of this new perspective, this new way of thinking, like a leveling up in your reality, like you're on the cusp of experiencing a new reality, and it's because of how strong you have become, how much you have overcome, the success that you have experienced against the hardships in your life. And so you're completely qualified. You have everything you need to face this and to embark on this new adventure that's aligned with purpose and desire. Right now, your strength is needed. This experience that you have as this warrior that you've been is needed to actually pause, to seek a new perspective, cultivate patience. The Hanged Man, as I was saying, is a reminder that the outer limits of your understanding have been reached. Because of all that you've been through, you've achieved. You reached the end point of that, and it requires you completely changing your perspective. You're hanging upside down, completely changing your perspective, and maybe sacrificing something. Like, the Hanged Man, he's held by his foot. He is sacrificing motion and movement. His hands are tied in a way. But he's hanging upside down. He's seeing the world from 180 degrees difference. And it's this different perspective and the patience to sit in this and observe and be still that ultimately expands those limits of his understanding, or helps him go outside of those limits of his understanding. Really become smarter, become more enlightened. But you have to, this only comes with waiting. So it feels like you're waiting in this soup of anxiety. And I think the key is really resolving your inner state before doing anything else. You don't want to act from this place of fear and doubts and anxieties. You don't want to act from this place of overanalysis, of worry. Otherwise, you're reacting only to fear. You're letting fear dictate your life. And it may be important to sit with this, until you're able to sort through it, until it goes away. You can't force this down. This is a discussion. This is a discussion that we have with anxiety. We can't sweep it under the rug and be like, it's gone. It requires curiosity, discussion, debate, real deep engagement with yourself. And maybe that's what this patience is all about. That's what this waiting is about. There is a new understanding that will emerge from you and will grow big enough that soon it dictates. It'll become so clear that it dictates your next action. It'll become so much more powerful than the fear and doubts you have. It will eclipse those anxieties that you have. That there will be no choice of what you do. There will be no choice of the action you take, because you'll reach that point where all the waiting, all your patience has given you all the information on the inside that you need in order to act, and you'll feel it in your bones. You'll feel when it is the right time for this incubation period to end. But know that right now the advice is to be patient. It is to wait. It is to maybe engage with this anxiety that you have in a more productive way, not in a way where you are enabling it, but in a way where you are questioning it. You're poking holes in it. You're getting curious about it. You're wondering why these doubts and fears are coming up. Where are they coming from? Who are they coming from? This is really powerful, Capricorn, and really has the potential to be a major turning point in your life. I see that because you're this really well experienced, like richly experienced, rich experience, I'm not quite sure the word I'm looking for, warrior who's just been through so much, and it's like, I know so much at this point, but you're also on the cusp of even this further awakening. It's like a brand new track that you're about to go on, and you have the strength that you need to get through this. You have the willpower, the wisdom, the courage, the bravery that you need to get through this. So believe that that's in you, and that this challenge is being presented for you. It's being presented because you've leveled up to face it, finally. And on the other side of that is this new adventure that is very much aligned with your authentic self, your true desires, and your true purpose and mission. I love you very much, Capricorn. Please like, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and please leave me a comment below. I really want to hear from you. I'm rooting for you as always, and I'll see you next time. Hi, Aquarius. Welcome to your September reading. This is good for Aquarius, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. I'm calling in your guides and angels. We're looking for any messages today that Aquarius needs to hear. Knight of Cups. The Devil in reverse. Thank you. The Hermit. Okay, Aquarius. This is a super clear message. Knight of Cups. There is... Some of you are in a position where you are really fighting for your love right now. You're fighting for something that you really deeply care about, or at least you feel like you're in a fight towards that love. You feel like you are on an adventure towards emotional fulfillment, personal well-being, love, however that love takes shape, whether it's self-love, whether it's love for another person, or it's love for something in your life, a passion, a purpose, a joy that you have. While you may feel this way, you're very caught up in your inner world, in your emotional world, almost more invested in the emotional adventure than the physical one. And this is creating this duality between living out your desires and your emotional whims through imagination versus in reality. So the Knight of Cups is someone who is willing to sacrifice comfort or logic to achieve what they feel is right. Always fighting for this cause that really lives in their heart space more than anyone else. And this Knight often... The reason why some of the balance between the inner world and the outer world sometimes renders this Knight paralyzed is because they are really torn in two directions. The desire to change that outer world, to change their situation, while also feeling everything so deeply, while being very hurt by that outside situation. So there's this internal focus as well as this external focus. And the challenge of the Knight of Cups is balancing those in a way that actually allow you to move forward and actually do things about it, not just be living in this inner emotional turmoil, but also purpose and getting really lost in your inner world, in the inner adventure. This is true for a lot of idealists, and the Knight of Cups, more than anything, is an idealist. It's that feeling of being an idealist, like you want to change the world, and it's you feel things so deeply, you are so emotionally committed to something that you're also overwhelmed by it. You're overwhelmed by what's needed to actually change that world that you have so many feelings about. And so sometimes, you know, you are able to focus on things outside of yourself, but other times it's very isolating. It's very paralyzing, because the action feels extra overwhelming to you because of how much you feel. So whatever this mission is about for you, something, again, about personal fulfillment, joy, relationships, love, filling your cup, whatever fills your cup, the biggest challenge here is actually accepting your own shadow side. I also feel called to say that for some of you, I think this is accepting someone else's shadow. I'm not sure why. That's just coming through right now. You know, and the truth is that if we really do believe that we are all a single consciousness and that separateness is an illusion, then accepting someone else's shadow is the same thing as accepting your own shadow. So this is calling you, I think, like on your path to action here, to working towards the world that you feel in your heart is right for you or for everyone, whatever it is, if it's a micro perspective or the macro perspective. What's standing in your way is your acceptance of your own shadow side, or someone else's shadow side, confronting and overcoming shame and questioning beliefs and assumptions that might be reinforcing a very negative or toxic, poisonous view of something. And I do think that for many of you, this is yourself, like that, and that could be the thing that's keeping you from action, because you see things that need to change, and then you judge yourself so badly that you disempower yourself on your own mission, on your own adventure. Reverse, the devil warns us to beware of the desire to please everyone at the expense of meeting your own needs. So this is the challenge here, is to really face or reface those parts of yourself that you have deemed bad, that you have judged in some way, and instead reassess your judgment. Find acceptance and forgiveness and even love of your shadow side, because it's not going anywhere. It's a part of you. And in true devil fashion, I think we can feel very tricked by our own shadows. We can feel very tricked by our own shadows, and that leads to intense feelings of shame and rejecting a part of ourselves, like constantly thinking that that part is our enemy, when really it's not. It's just ourselves in another light or lack of light. And it can't be defeated or canceled or rejected through hatred, which is what shame is rooted in. It can only be integrated into the whole being that we are. It can only be accepted and forgiven and loved into growth. That's how anything is changed. It's only transformed through love. And I should say that's how anything is changed for the better, is it's transformed by love, not transformed by fear. Fear can certainly change things for the worse. Being transformed by fear can change things for the worse. The Hermit is the advice. So this is really calling for you to be alone with yourself, spend some true quality time with yourself. We don't think of the Hermit as loneliness, we think about it as solitude. And solitude is a very positive thing. Maybe there's a part of yourself that's you are avoiding a certain part of yourself, and this is the card that says, hey, spend time with that part of yourself. It's going inward that will expand you outward. This is very different from the inner focus of the Knight of Cups, whereas the inner focus of the Knight of Cups, the imagination, getting lost in hypotheticals, imagined circumstances, you know, being fully emotionally invested in how certain things are just playing out or could play out or might play out, or why did this happen, analyzing the past in a way that's really unproductive. While this is all happening on the inside, it still is focused on conditions, on other people, on surroundings. It's not necessarily facing the deepest part of yourself. It's like playing an outer experience on the inside, playing that over and over again, and just thinking about it, thinking about your next move, thinking about your past moves. Whereas this cuts through all of the distraction of that Knight of Cups inner emotional turmoil adventure, or even idealist adventure, and brings you to a place of facing yourself face to face, the truest, deepest, most authentic part of who you are. This Hermit is calling you to seek guidance from your inner divinity, trusting yourself when the world around you becomes uncertain, going inward when the world around you becomes uncertain. It could be that this is all being fueled by concerns of the material world. The material world is making self-shame or lack of self-acceptance worse. It's making this focus on the gap between your ideal world and the current world worse and more overwhelming and more paralyzing. And the Hermit is all about detaching from that material world, detaching from circumstance and outer experience, and retreating into the sanctuary of your own making, the sanctuary that is always available to you on the inside. A very literal interpretation of this is start meditating. Just literally start meditating. Work on your inner environment. Cultivate, nourish your inner environment. Because that's the thing that is ultimately going to transform the devil, this devil coming into play for you, transform your self-shame and acceptance, and also make sure that this Knight of Cups you're taking advantage of this Knight of Cups. The Knight of Cups isn't keeping you from doing what you're doing, but rather you're able to balance that true compassion and desire to change and help the world with your feelings about the world. Making sure those things act together, not pull you in two separate directions, rendering you completely still and actionless. I hope this is clear, Aquarius. Please comment below, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you about this reading, or anything else for that matter. Like, subscribe, turn on your notifications, check out my Patreon if you want to support this work. I'm rooting for you as always. I love you very much, and I'll see you next time. Hi Pisces, welcome to your September reading. This is good for Pisces, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. I call in your guides and your angels. What are the messages for Pisces? Wow. Okay, Pisces, 10 of Wands, the Emperor. Okay, Pisces, 6 of Cups. So Pisces, the message for you for September, what I'm seeing is 10 of Wands. You're in a place where you feel overwhelmed by how many directions you are being pulled in. And that could be, another way of saying that is the number of wills that you are trying to please. It's like having so many obligations, prioritizing so many other people's wills that it splits you in a lot of different directions. it dilutes your own will, and you're unable to really connect to your own fire, your own passion, because you feel so pulled in so many different directions by so many different wills. This is very burdensome. This is overwhelming. And 10 of Wands is very much, though, a breaking point. It's a breaking point of self-discovery and spiritual evolution. That kind of feeling of being overwhelmed, of holding so much, of carrying so much, so many things that don't belong to you, so many obligations, of trying to appease so many other people's wills and desires. It's like that has to happen in order to get to this breaking point where you drop all the sticks, you drop all the wands, and you, by instinct, you pick up the one that actually is yours. This can indicate the end of a real spiritual trial, and it takes that breaking point to reach the end of that spiritual trial. Now, one more thing about this is that what happens on the other end of that burden, or on the other side of that burden and overwhelm, is true rest and rejuvenation. And this can feel hard right now because, again, you're on the cusp of, you're in this process of dropping other people's desires and really recognizing your own desire, recognizing your own fire. And when your will is burning, and when you become more aware of that will that is burning, it becomes a lot harder to actually rest and rejuvenate. But it's important to do it. It's important to do it and still be nourishing and cultivating that flame inside you. It's not going to burn out. It's not going to go anywhere if it really is yours, if it really does belong to you. It's not going anywhere. And you can really rest. You can really take care of yourself. And that may be a part of what it means to cultivate that flame, of what it means to follow your desire, to honor your purpose and your mission and your gut. So don't think that it only has to take the form of obvious action, because inaction, if it's for your own wellness and well-being, not because you're being pulled in so many directions you don't know where to go, but if it's truly honestly for your own rest, well-being, rejuvenation, then that's a step on your journey towards the things that you want. The Emperor is in the obstacle position, so it feels like the only thing that's standing between you and being on the other side of this spiritual trial is a greater structure that is putting a great deal of pressure on you. Some kind of set of rules or expectations that come from something outside of yourself. Maybe it's like the conventional way of doing things in whatever area of your life is coming up, or whatever area of your life you're struggling right now. It's this conventional way of doing things, rules, a set of rules that we feel like we have to follow. Certain boxes that we need to check. Thinking about things in a really logical and literal way, and trying to excel within the limits of a structure that contains everyone, even though everyone is very different and everyone is an individual and everyone has different needs and different paths. This kind of structure can be suffocating. I think sometimes it's helpful because it gives us a start, it gives us a template, but Pisces, you're at a place where you're outside that template. You've been outside that template. You already know you don't belong in this template, and yet sometimes I see you as an outsider looking in on this order, looking in at this structure and feeling like, I wish I was a part of that. It'd be easier if I was a part of that. Still feeling the pressure of this structure, even though you're already outside of it, even though you know you don't belong in it. And that's the obstacle right now to you really saying no to this kind of people pleasing, releasing the obligations to other people, and acting from a much more genuine place. A genuine, authentic place that's aligned with your true goals, your true mission and purpose. that really cannot, it's hard for that to burn within the confines of these conventional structures. The advice is the Six of Cups, which is about integrating the old parts of yourself with the current part of yourself through love and kindness. Sometimes this is integrating past traumas that stem back from childhood, things going so far back into your past, and looking at them with an eye of such love and acceptance and care, and understanding that not everything has to be perfect, that you can forgive yourself for anything, and consider where you were at that point in your life and what you had available to you. When we are still holding on to past traumas, holding on to past things, it's because there's a lack of acceptance, which means a lack of forgiveness. And oftentimes that lack of forgiveness is a lack of forgiveness of ourselves. Recognizing that things weren't our fault in the first place. We can feel comfortable with who we are and what we came from, even if what we came from was difficult, even if we were born out of challenge, if we were diamonds formed from great amounts of pressure. The point is that we're a diamond now, and that journey was crucial to making us who we are now. So when we don't accept or forgive parts of our journey, when we are still extremely attached to certain things in our past in a resistant way, then we really deny how brightly we could be shining in the present moment and in our future. So I see this as maybe a self-acceptance of you being at odds with certain systems in your life. It's not a bad thing that you're at odds with those systems. In fact, it could be a very beautiful thing about you. And the sooner you embrace this and stop measuring yourself against a metric that you're not even living within, then the sooner you can be shining. Same with releasing these obligations, putting down that burden and carrying only what you can carry, acknowledging your own limits, even if that is limited to, at the moment, to you prioritizing one desire and that desire being your own. It's just hard to hear, but it's often the truth. I would love to hear from you, Pisces. Please leave me a comment below. Tell me what's going on for you. Like and subscribe. Turn on your notifications to this channel. And if you want to support this work, check out my Patreon in the link below. I love you very much, Pisces. I'm rooting for you as always, and I'll see you next month.